Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Roast here with Jessica Bun Bun, and this is our Bad Sister Season 2, Episode 3 reaction and review. This season continues to be lit. Now,
hmm
there's a couple reviews I saw over the past few days of some people that were like, oh, has the show lost its luster? And to those people, I say no, this is still endlessly entertaining.
Yeah, anybody out there that's thinking that the show has like really lost its way, it really feels like we are still continuing on from season one. The fact that they killed off Grace, a
Yeah,
major character on this show. It is very rare these days that you have a show that is unafraid to take huge risks that actually push a good story forward. Like my go-to is always Vikings. For
yep.
anybody who hasn't seen Vikings, there's some spoilers here, but I mean the show's been out forever. But they took a huge risk as well, killing off a main character that needed to happen to move on the story in a really rich way. And so far, killing off Grace has really moved this second season in a very rich storytelling way.
Yeah, like I've seen some comparisons to, oh, this is similar to Big Little Lies season 2, and I'll be honest, I didn't love Big Little Lies season 2 all that much. I mean, yeah, sure you had Meryl Streep, but the big difference here is that I like all of the main characters of Bad Sisters more than I did the main characters of Big Little Lies. Like I'm more willing to follow these people just about anywhere, even if they are meandering, but thankfully this is a meander-free zone, and we
Mhm.
have right now multiple mysteries we're trying to thread together, including what was happening with Grace right before her death, and then also going back to the first episode, whose body was being dumped out of the trunk. There's not really a lot of further information there yet.
No, it's feeling more and more like it's going to be Angelica at this point. Ian
Yeah.
was on our list, but who popped up? Ian in this episode. I think it was kind of 50-50 on if he was still around or if he
Yeah.
was buried under the turtle pit, because that's where I kind of thought he was. But I still feel like there's a body under that turtle pit.
Maybe the turtle pit's the setup to season 3, which I'm really hoping they have an idea for already.
Listen, there's a reason why Grace is in the artwork holding a shovel, and we saw her using that hand spade in the garden, and
Yeah.
we have focused on that turtle pen, which is large enough to have a body under it easily, and we've got turtles in the credits. That turtle pen is coming into play. There is someone under it. That is my tinfoil hat theory. Who it is, it's not Ian.
No, every little visual we have on this show, like I tend to believe it matters, and I know you do as well. It's sort of like we cover Only Murders in the Building very, very thoroughly here, and one of the things that's very, very important with that show is there's symbols in the end credits at the start of the show. Like everything comes together. Now we will get further into episode 3, all of the different little tidbits that are happening. What is could be going on with Eva and Ian, but
Mhm.
before we do, hit that subscribe button because we are in the midst of a very important time that we could call Apple TV Plus a Palooza, because we have Bad Sisters,
Yep.
Silo Season 2, and also Before with Billy Crystal. 3 really exceptional shows on Apple TV Plus all at once. We don't want you to miss any of our coverage there.
Yeah, and if you like Bad Sisters, Before is right up your alley. It is also a really good sort of murder mystery thriller. And if you're looking for even more shows from us,
Yeah.
follow us on our Patreon. Right now, we are covering Dune Prophecy exclusively over there. It is the only place that you can get video reviews of our Dune coverage. And we always have shows going on over there that are not available anywhere else.
Yeah.
And it also really helps Matt and I here at the channel to be able to continue to bring you videos here. So thank you so much to everyone who is supporting us over there.
Thank you guys so much.
Okay, Eva and Ian, hooking up or not? Leave it in the comments for us. I feel like they are leading us to this complicated relationship. Now, for those of you who are new to the channel, I'm a former funeral director. So seeing people who are grieving over the same person hooking up, this is super common.
Mhm.
This is something that happens all the time, where people who are grieving the same person, want to feel something and want to feel secure, and it's a way to grieve with another person. And while it may seem very inappropriate, oh, how could you
Yeah.
hook up with Grace's husband, she's been dead a minute. It's really common that people grieve this way and want to have human connection with somebody else who also loved the same person who passed away. I think that they are moving towards this.
I think they're moving towards it too. There's a little bit of chemistry between the two of them. I don't know if either one of them is fully aware of it yet. It feels like this is going to be one of those things that just happens in a moment where they
Yeah.
both sort of simultaneously realize that something is there at the same time. And the good thing about Bad Sisters is that they do a lot of these sort of big, messy, dramatic reveals that are also still grounded in reality, things that
Mhm.
would happen as you explained. And
Yep.
of course, what will be really fun about this, and fun for us, maybe not fun for the characters, is that in the aftermath of this happening, you know that there's going to be some really judgmental people. Ursula's going to be like, Eva, how could you? And then Eva can be like, Ursula, do you want to talk about things that we've done that are a little bit scandalous here?
Here's the thing. I've also seen that where there is that reaction from people of, oh, how could you? How could you
Yeah.
hook up with this person who was with the person who's deceased? And now you guys are together, even if it's temporarily, very quickly afterwards. There's always lots of judgment on stuff like that when people just don't understand that it's part of the grieving process. People grieve in all different kinds of ways, and while this is really common, there of course are people who are going to be like, you can grieve with a million other people on this planet. It doesn't have to be Grace's husband.
Mhm.
Why would it be him? Well, the connection is Grace, and that it is two people that are missing one person that has passed away, and they're making a connection over it. Super common, but definitely common for people to also be like, how could you?
Yeah, well, let's get a little bit deeper into Grace and what's going on here. Because one of the big reveals in this episode is that not long before her death, Grace was running around and taking out money from various different places. And of
Mhm.
course, this leads to the question of what is going on here? Is she using all this money to store things up so that she can go after Ian? Is there something else that's going on? Is she paying somebody off?
Yeah, that's the thing. And so we have seen with what's going on with Ursula that she thought she might be responsible for what happened with Grace, that she had given her these pills. She thought maybe
Yeah.
Grace took them and then was driving and crashed and died. That turned out to not be the case. But because Ursula was so much in her head about it, she was saying a lot more than she should be to people, to be like, kind of like, oh, I need to see that tox report when it comes back. Oh,
Yeah.
well, why do you need to see that, sort of thing? She also opens up to Angelica, of all people, about the pills and what happened. And then we saw that Angelica was kind of like, oh, well, you want me to keep quiet about it? Sure, no problem. Also, this place needs a new window. It'll be about $200. You got $200 to replace that window? Obviously, this is something that's happening. So it is something that feels like this maybe could have been happening to Grace as well, but it doesn't feel like it. Like, it feels like Angelica thinks she knows something, but she doesn't know everything. I think her brother is probably given enough that she's threaded things together, but nobody's confirmed it yet. And Angelica's just on a revenge tour of the sisters at this point, where she's like, how could you do this to my brother? He's been carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. It is your fault. Grace did this. You all knew about it, and you're all gonna pay for it in some way or another. I think Grace really knew that this was coming down the pipeline. So by the time Ian left, I think she just didn't really know what to do. So she started taking out money, collecting things. Yes, she left her daughter, but I think she was going somewhere first, maybe to pay off Angelica and be like, hey, can you just leave us alone on this? Or she was securing a place for her and her daughter to go to. We don't know yet.
It doesn't feel like this is something that was thoroughly planned out. It feels like this is something
No.
that was committed by a woman in an act of desperation where she thought, okay, I have to get all this money and I have to get it because everything she's doing can be easily traced at this point. So this is somebody who is acting very impulsively, recklessly, probably emotionally on some level as well.
She had just told Ian what happened,
Yes.
that the actual truth. So at that point, she's just like, oh no, he didn't take it very well and he's left and I don't know where he is. So maybe I'm going to jail. Maybe I should just take this money, find a secure place, get my daughter and get out of here, which is what I think is happening.
Okay, so with Angelica in particular and what is going on with her, I do think there's a part of it that is, like you said, a revenge tour over everything that's going on with Roger. Now, if I am to go another sort of crazy direction on top of it,
Mhm.
I think she's a little bit of a Walter White sort of I did it for me and I did it because I liked it. I think she legitimately is enjoying being in this role because I think we've all sort of known people like this, whether it is a neighbor, a relative, somebody who just doesn't have a lot going on and they really relish the opportunity to just be in the mud and swimming around in it and getting all this information because then you need them, and including you need them to keep quiet. And so I just think she's relishing this opportunity to be seen and noticed, I think, in a way that she probably has not been in a long time. She's already using it for money. I think she's using it a little bit for fear. I think you're spot on with the idea, too, that I don't necessarily think she knows everything, but what makes this situation so fascinating is that she can go around and present that she knows everything,
Mhm.
and then she just hopes that somebody confirms it with the right sort of language that is, yeah, you're right. Grace did kill John Paul, and, Roger did help, but it's like nobody is vocalizing it in the way in which she obviously wants because nobody wants to actually say this out loud.
Nobody's going to tell Angelica that unless she catches them
Yeah.
in the right frame of mind, like she did with Ursula and the pills. You're talking about something that's such a major crime that I can't see any of the sisters ever telling her this at all. Like, I just don't know where she's really going to get the information from,
Yeah.
which is where Grace's daughter comes into play. Now, Grace's daughter, I don't think knows everything, but I think she's starting to also put some pieces together on some things. Things just aren't sitting right. She doesn't understand what the fight with Ian was about, why Ian is gone for all those days. She's grieving her mother's death in the way that she is, which is anger. Also, extremely normal part
Yeah.
of the grieving process. I mean, we also cover Yellowstone here at the channel, and spoiler alert, there was a death over there as well. And there was a conversation that happened over there where they were kind of like, yeah, you can either really miss somebody when they're gone or you can be mad at somebody when they're gone. And you can carry one of those two things for the rest of your life. And it was spot on. It's really true. And you kind of have to make a choice on that if you're able to. And right now, Grace's daughter is making a choice to be angry about it. So when we saw at the very end that she's with Angelica and she walks in, she kind of has this look on her face. I was really sitting back, having my tinfoil hat on,
Yeah.
thinking about why she's there. Is she there because she's angry and she's also on a bit of a you hurt me, so now I'm going to hurt all your sisters tour as well? Or is it more of we saw Angelica runs a grief group,
Yeah.
and is it possible that she was there and made a connection with her and she's trying to deal with her anger and her grief through Angelica, and they've made a connection? Now Angelica's like, cool, I'll just finesse this a little more and see if I can get her to get information out of the sisters because they'll tell her over me.
Angelica, I think, is an inherently selfish character, and that's good for television's sake. It's not necessarily somebody you want to run into in your day-to-day life, but I think what makes Fiona Shaw such a perfect person to play this role is that she can come.
She's just perfect.
Okay, all right, let's.
Oh my God, I love her. Fiona Shaw. You're such a fangirl.
Okay, that's one. That's me with Pedro, and two, I understand with this show fully. It's just that she has such like an innate warmth that you want to trust her, you want to be around her. And I think Grace, I mean, I think Angelica in her mind probably thinks, oh, look at this, I'm providing this great service. And she probably is in a little bit of a denial that she's really just doing it because she likes being presented in this way to other people. And I think she's going to use Grace's daughter to ultimately get some information, and maybe she's going to tell herself that she's helping her in this time of great grief, but that's not really what she's doing. She's just trying to get information however she can get it, and then whenever she does get it, I think she'll try to be all, sweet and quote unquote innocent about it, even though she's really not. Like, I think eventually her end goal will be to go to the police with some of this information. I mean, we've already got our detective friends here hot on the case, but I think what could be Angelica's fatal flaw, and also what gets her in that trunk, because I think we're both in that same direction with that, is just that I think she's going to hold on to things too long, because I think she's going to enjoy having this over the Garvey sisters, and she's going to try to milk this for whatever she can before she gets enough proof to go to the police, and then they're going to find out about it, and then they're going to off her before she can actually do anything.
Yeah, I just think that Angelica is a really complicated character. She wants to be accepted. She wants to be seen as someone who is valuable. That's, she's running a grief group. She's trying to help people. She's trying to help her brother. She wants to see herself as somebody who is kind, valuable, and helpful. But nobody's really seeing her that way. Like, there are people in the grief group that I'm sure are, but it's not enough for her. She wants to really be part of something. Mix that in with her being a nosy bee and wanting to know what's going on. Mix that in with seeing what's happened to her brother and what a shell of a man he's become, from a man full of life to meeting Grace and JP and everything that JP did to him and broke him down, and then everything that he did with Grace and broke him down even more, like this wonderful, joyous man who is now barely a shell. That I think for her, she's just on this crusade to be the person that helps, and that because she wants to be seen that way and she wants to believe that she's that way. Any means necessary to prove that the Garvey sisters have done this horrible thing, and that they did this horrible thing to her brother, so that her brother can maybe be relieved of some of this, and the Garvey sisters will go down for it.
She's just the fulcrum point, I think, of this entire season, because we could sort of create a mental image in your head here for a moment where you've got the Garvey sisters are sort of over here. And then all the way over there in that corner, that's where we've got our detectives and what they're doing. And then you have, kind of in the middle of all of this, Angelica, who can present information to them. But I don't think the detectives are going to be able to actually figure anything out for sure without someone like hers help. Like, they're already trying to bring in, our insurance friends from last season and the relationship with Becca. And it's just like, yeah, sure, you guys are onto something, but I just don't think they're going to get anywhere going that direction.
No, I don't think they're going to get anywhere, but I was so glad to see Matt back after what he did and his involvement in it. For him to just disappear and not be part of this season would have been really weird. Like, it's fine that he's not with Becca anymore and she's with this new guy or whatever's going on, but it would have been so weird and so suspicious that the insurance brothers are just gone and they don't exist anymore, when such a huge part of this plot that the detectives are digging into are about this insurance claim, and why all of a sudden Grace decided to drop it, and the insurance company's like, great, no problem, now we're in the wind. It's kind of like, well, why would you be in the wind? Like, this makes no sense. It's nice to see that the detectives are putting that together. Houlihan's starting to put together that maybe Becca and Matt were involved. And I'm actually not really sure why Becca's denying it. It just because they're involved doesn't mean that Matt would have done something or Becca would have done something. They can have a relationship and it's not connected. It doesn't feel like a thing that needed to be hidden for me.
the funniest thing to me is just that there's all this direct evidence in the form of like likes, literal likes, social media. And, as somebody who spends way too much time online, this stuff, yes, you could try to come back and be like, I was hacked. But at a certain point, it's very hard to get away with that sort of excuse.
Oh, a like is a like sometimes. That's all it is. Sometimes it's not anything deeper. I mean, if the police were looking into something with me and they'd see all the likes that I've put on D'Angelo Wallace's videos and all of his stuff, because I just think he's like one of the greatest YouTubers out there. I just enjoy his content so much. It's so wholesome. He's so great. Then people would be like, okay, well, then they're in a relationship. And I promise you we're not.
I think they're just grasping at straws, really, at this point. And that's ultimately the thing. A social media like can either mean a lot or a little, depending on who you are and how desperate you are to make some sort of connection between things.
Absolutely. I liked like 5 cat videos yesterday.
Okay,
like,
yeah, I know.
just it is what it is.
It's just,
They would know each other because of the insurance connection.
It's definitely not admissible. I mean, Houlihan can't go
No.
to any sort of court system and be like, look at these likes. They mean something. This is why Angelica has to be sort of the main X factor here, because there has to be some actual tangible information, and this is kind of hard given that Grace is dead and John Paul is dead, and I don't think any of the other sisters are going to be altogether willing to say anything.
No, but this is where Grace's daughter comes in, and I think that that's why they've been building so much, that the way that she's grieving in this process is with anger. She's lost her dad, she's lost her mom in short order, like her grandparents are gone. Everybody's gone except for these aunts that seem to be involved in something. And while they're trying to help her, it's not in a way that Grace's daughter's really able to accept at this point, which is fine. Everybody grieves in different ways, and you can't force somebody to grieve in a way that you want them to, or to connect at a time that they're not ready to. It all is just on different timelines. But because they've built up how angry she is at her mom before her mom died and after her mom died, she's easily the person that could be quickly manipulated by Angelica to be able to be like, hey, you're in the house all the time. Just put an ear to the door, see what you hear, see what's going on. Oh, you think maybe they're involved with something? Me too. I'm here with you. We can get through this together because I'm your grief counselor.
Here's where I think episode 4 is going to go, is that we're going to see Grace's daughter open up more. That's going to end up being problematic because the Garveys are going to figure it out. But then we might be starting to get the ball rolling on this is kind of dark, but I'm going to say it anyway. One of my favorite things about this show is listening to these sisters plot and scheme various ways to get rid of people. And that is where my favorite sister, Bibi, gets to come into the spotlight because she is unhinged. She will plot with the best of them. And regardless of whether or not the Garveys are getting rid of Angelica, I want to at least see them plot to get rid of Angelica and realize that she is a problem.
Yeah, and they really are starting to come together now that Ursula has revealed that Angelica was trying to get money out of her to cover up the secret. Now they know that right before Grace died, she also took out like $20,000, went to a bunch of different ATMs and took out $5,000 4 times, and was then all of a sudden died in this car wreck. That they're starting to put together that Angelica is a problem. They don't know exactly why or what she knows, but now's the time to start really figuring out what she does know. And the most interesting part about it is that the Garvey sisters actually haven't killed anybody yet.
I know.
It is just Grace. So where we're at now, where there's the trunk, there's seemingly a body in it, Grace is no longer with them. Did they actually do it this time where they didn't miss?
Okay, here is the craziest possible twist, and I'm not sure I want this because it just sounds really, really sad. What if Roger killed Angelica, and Roger ended up being the person who did this? But
I don't think he has it in him.
I don't think he has it in him, but I am trying to think already of this idea of what if they didn't kill, and once again we're left on this path of, all right, they're disposing of a body, but they didn't actually do it themselves. Could Roger be driven to that? I don't think so, but it's an interesting thing
Mhm.
to plot because it's like, who else could have killed Angelica if Angelica is the person in the trunk?
Yeah, I mean, Roger's pretty broken. He wanted to go turn himself in, and he's more kind of on that path, but things can change quite quickly.
Yeah,
Could it also be Ian? And this is where we kind of get into this possible Ian Eva relationship where he knows that the sisters helped cover things up for Grace. He knows what Grace did, he knows
yeah.
what JP did to Eva and to Grace and to the sisters to get to that point that Grace did that, that the sisters were then willing to cover it up. His relationship also with Grace's daughter is still solid. Like, he's not leaving. They are family, and it doesn't matter that he's not her biological dad. He's not leaving her. They are together, and that is family. Is it possible that because he gets so involved in what's going on with the sisters and maybe a romantic relationship with Eva and the daughter, that as Angelica gets deeper and deeper into messing around with the family, that Ian makes a decision and the sisters cover it up?
Yeah, I think it all is going to come into how much madness is Angelica going to cause that's going to drive somebody to do this, whether it be a Roger who doesn't seem capable, whether it be Ian who basically had to go and peace out on his own life because he was so
Right.
shocked by what Grace had told him. But can these people be then driven to that level? That's one of the most exciting things about this show.
And that's also just kind of an interesting question in life, right? Like, is everybody capable of doing something like this? What is the line that would make anybody get to this point that this is a choice that they're actually considering?
Yeah, and I think this is something that, Sharon Horgan, who's the writer and plays Eva, I think this is something that she wants to ask on this show time and time again. And also, what are you willing to do in order to protect other people? And is
Mhm.
this a situation where you're protecting other people by getting rid of Angelica? Like, is the
Yep.
bad so bad that it just like outweighs any good in any scenario?
And that's the thing, is right now, this is not on the same level as JP and the things
No.
that JP did to Grace, to Eva, to the rest of the sisters. Yeah, being like, I'll tell your information if you don't replace a window. That's not something that it's like, oh, we're in such grave
Yeah.
danger that we need to put her in a trunk. If she's like, I know about what you guys did, that's a reason to put somebody in a trunk, because that's
Yeah.
something they're going to be held over their heads for the rest of their lives. She can expose them at any point. There's 4 people that are going to end up going down over it. That's a reason, but they're not there yet.
No, I think these first 3 episodes have done a very good job, at least, of setting the table. I mean, do I want more BB than what we've gotten so far? Yeah, it feels like most of it is just a storyline about her family. But I would also say the same thing about Becca. I want more
Yeah.
with her other than just, oh, you had a relationship with Matt. But we're still early. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt here.
Yeah, Becca needs to not just be the person in a romance.
Yeah.
Like, they did that over on Only Murders in the Building to Mabel for the first 3 seasons, where every season her major story was she has a romance. And the last season of Only Murders, she didn't have a romance, and it was so good for her. It was
Yeah.
like the best season for the Mabel character. And I would really like to see them kind of change it up, where it's like maybe this season Eva's going to have the romance and maybe Becca's going to be doing some other stuff. There are other things that she can be part of.
Yeah, that might just be it. That Becca's whole romantic story just isn't doing anything for me right now. I'm just like,
No.
sure, fine.
Yeah.
But all right, that's where we are coming out of Bad Sisters Season 2, Episode 3. But hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the rest of our Apple TV Plus-a-Palooza.
Nice.
It's going to be a different name every time I say this because I'm always going to forget what it was. But we have this show, we have Silo, we have Before. Lots going on there, and you can support us further by joining our Patreon. A link is in the description. We have exclusive video coverage over there of Dune Prophecy. Do not miss that. Thank you to our patrons, and we'll see you here next time.